My name is Rose Gazarek, and we're here today at Maxwell Hall, the historic 250-year-old home, to demonstrate to you a little bit about floral design. So in the period, in the olden days, they would have gardens, they would have kitchen gardens, they would have floral gardens, and the gardens typically were they were austere, they were not fancy like we have today. They were a little bit more simple. And what you see here, I'm demonstrating to you a piece that has already been created so that I can talk to you about the elements and principles of floral design. So a lot of us are in our homes, and sometimes there's reasons why we can't go out, but there is one true thing, and that is the love of gardening. The love of gardening is how I came to appreciate floral design. So you have botanicals in your garden, what grows in your space, whether it's here in the Hughesville area or wherever you are watching this demonstration. And in the olden days, what they would do in this time period, they would use gourds, for example. This pumpkin would have been a vase that they would have used. And for the holiday season, you can see how appropriate it might be for a centerpiece. This is a little bit taller than normal for a sitting down, because what you want to do is the top of your florals can't be higher than your elbow, right here. So this might be a centerpiece, or it might be something that you would have used in a buffet, for example, a reception. But what I wanted to share with you just for a minute are the elements and principles of floral design. So you have line, what you have in your elements are what is, and then the principles are how you use those elements to create something of beauty. And so your elements are your line. Here you have a line. You can see that I've tried to create a line using color that goes this way, so you can see the little pathway of I'm using the color from the pumpkin to the lotus to the botanicals down here. You have form, the shape, you have texture, space, you have space around it, you have fragrance, size, and color. And then the principles of design are balance. Is it physically balanced? Is it going to tip over? And is it visually balanced? Do you see the same kinds of things on one side as the other? And you can kind of see here that I've got a floral here and a floral there, and so anyone can see that it's balanced. Dominance, what's the dominant thing here? And I would say it's the pumpkin, the vase here. The contrast, you see the contrast in colors, you see the contrast in textures, you see a lot of contrast coming through here. You have rhythm. The rhythm is what moves your eye throughout the design, and you have harmony and unity. But the interesting thing here that I would say would be the pattern. The pattern of the vase, your pumpkin, is really unusual, and it ties the whole design together. So I would say that that is something that would be the dominant feature of this design here. So this is an example of how you use the elements and principles of floral design to create something that people just, they want to spend some time going around it and admiring, and oh, what is this and what is that? And as you're at your dinner table or at your kitchen table or having a beverage with your friends and neighbors, it is something of beauty. So what I wanted to do now was show you some vases and some botanicals that you would have seen during the colonial period. So this over here, let me grab it for you. This would have been something that you would see in a colonial period. This is called the quintal vase. The quintal vase is the 5-fingered vase, And in my vase, I have some sage and Artemisia scattered throughout the 5 fingers, because that was what was in the kitchen garden outside this kitchen, the original kitchen of the historic home. And these sage pieces I would have decorated, and I would have put them down below here just as an ornament. So you actually can use this for your holiday meals. You know, this is real sage. So here's an example of a vase that would have been used during the period of when people were living here at Maxwell Hall. So let me show you another example. Another example would have been the, hold on a second, I'll be right back. Another example would have been this type of vase. And what I am using this vase for here, let's see if you can see it better over here. This vase here is a example of a vase they would have used back in those days. Looks like a little jug. And what I have in my jug here is actual thyme, the herb thyme. And I got this from my garden, and you dry it and actually use it in your cooking. So now I've shown you sage and thyme that you can use for your holiday meals. You dry it, and it smells, oh, heavenly. It really does smell good. So you can see how, you know, putting this on your countertop, it actually looks like a nice floral design. And if you wanted to, you can insert other botanicals to give it a little bit of color, but I would use it just like that in my kitchen, because I think that looks like something that I would have done. Another thing that I wanted to show you was a different kind. This is a different kind of a centerpiece. This is more of what you think about as a traditional with a glass vase. The glass vases were the containers that they used back then. And in this one, I have a little bit of winterberry from our yard. I have some ivy from our yard, some nandina that grows out here, and a little bit of a cattail, and some grasses that give it the line. So you can see the line here is very strong in this one. You can see the different textures, you can see the different colors, and it does seem to be harmonious and within the time period of the season of the holiday season, for example. So this is another example. Now what I want to do with you is to explain, and this is really important because the elements and principles that I have described for you are, some of them are really easy to understand, like color, for example, the primary colors and the complementary colors. The one thing that always is hard for people to understand is the element of proportion. So that's what I want to just take a few minutes with you. I'm going to make a little hand-tied bouquet and show you how proportion is important. So let me move these things over and bring my botanicals here for you so that I can share with you how to explain. Okay, we're going to move this over here. Okay, and now we're going to bring this down over here, right there. And I want to share with you, not all vases are tall, some of them are smaller. And in this case, this little vase that I'm going to pull together for you, this is something that would be maybe at a nightstand. So here's a little vase that is also in the same period, the colonial days. They used to use a lot of blue and white So blue and white, like the Delft porcelain, would have been a little vase that they would have used. But the concept of proportion is what I wanted to take a minute with you right now. So if you've ever come through the historic home and you've seen some floral arrangements, you'll see sometimes they're pretty massive and sometimes they're smaller. But usually you'll see flowers that are tall. They're tall in a vase, and they're not ever that big, but they're tall. And these would be the chrysanthemums that we would use for a tall arrangement. What I want to show you now is proportion. It would be silly to put these in this little vase, right? So the concept of proportion is one where you actually use this, but you pull these apart. You pull the little bits together, and then you make a little hand tie. So the way that you start with your hand tie is you get your two and you crisscross. And these are the botanicals that I'm going to be using right now. So these are some that I've already cut up for you. And I'm going to start with, so here, I need to cut this up because that's way too big. So you start with that, and then you get another color, and you cross over, and then you get another color, and you cross over, and then you get another color, you cross over, and then you get another color, and cross over, and then over, and then over, and then over. And you can kind of see now a little bit of a hand tie coming at you. So here's the start of the hand tie, and crossing over, and then you want another color here, so I'm going to bring that one over. Another color here, I'm going to bring that one over. And then just for fun, I'm going to use some of these to give it a little bit of rhythm. So I'm going to use that and that and this one, and I'm going to use this one here. Oopsie. Maybe not too much there. That looks a little heavy. That's the beauty of hand tie, is that you can adjust as needed. So bringing that one over, and some of this, and some of this over here. Now what I want to do is I want to start closing it up with a little bit of that and a little bit of this and maybe another one of these, and maybe I'm going to do a couple of these. This is too big. So what you do is you cut it. See? Bring that over here like that. That's too small, but I would use this right here, and that would come right over here. See? And then you're going to bring this guy over here in the third position, and maybe end up with this one over here to balance it out. And then I think I'm going to put this as a right here, maybe right there, and then right here. And that looks like it's good enough for me. So then what you do, oh my goodness, I forgot my tie. Well, what you do here is you cut it. You cut it. And if you don't have wire, so what you can do is get a piece of grass, maybe? Grass works. And do a little bit of a, you do want to use bind wire because you want it to stay together, but I didn't bring my wire. I had wire. So you bring this over, and I am going to, normally if I had wire that would stand up like that, so you can see how it would stand up if I had wire, but actually it almost does by itself, see? Okay, oopsie. But if I had wire, that would have stayed together. But the point here is that I have demonstrated to you the proportion and scale. So you see how this now, let me show you here, this now is something that would fit into a little bedside arrangement. So now I've given you some ideas about, and if you wanted to just add that little pop, you know what I mean? Just that little pop right there to balance it out. You could do that too. But the point here is that you have a botanical that's pretty tall or large, and you have a vase that doesn't fit. It's not in proportion, it's not in scale, and it wouldn't balance, and so it would look out of place. And so you use the pieces that you have to, in proportion to what you're trying to make, and where it's going to go as well. Is it going to go in the, this could go on a dining room table, it could go on a bed stand. This is not something that I would put out for a buffet table because it's kind of small, so you can see, you get the idea what I'm trying to say there. But so the fun thing about, you know, gardening, joining a garden club, wherever you are, that's always a learning experience, learning about your gardens, learning about the things that grow in your area, learning about how to take care of them all seasons long. But it's not just the flowers, it's also bringing them inside the house to be able to enjoy, to be able to give as gifts to your friends and neighbors, to give as gifts for sympathy, for happiness, for all the occasions that are important to all of us in our lives. So I hope that you have enjoyed this little time that I've shared with you on the different colonial period vases, the botanicals they would have used, the gardens that we have here, that I cut for you, the fresh herbs from the garden, and a demonstration on the principles and elements of floral design. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed your time with me.